Everybody, all right.
My name is Amy Samari. I am the president of the Arlington Heights Memorial Library Board of Trustees. And I want to welcome you to this meeting on Tuesday, May 20th, 2025. We have a full house tonight, which is wonderful. We love visitors. So the first thing we do at our meetings is we do a roll call of all the board members. So may I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Burrell?
Here.
Trustee Allen?
Here.
Trustee Kelly?
Here.
Trustee Meadow?
Here.
Trustee Will?
Here.
President Samari?
Here. And now I invite everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and I love hearing the young people's voices. I think you know that one, which is wonderful. So tonight we have a big meeting because we are saying goodbye to one of our trustees, who is moving on to run her business and many other things. And we are going to install 2 new trustees. But before we do that, I want to see, do we have any public comment? No public comment. Okay. So with the board that is leaving after tonight, we need to approve the minutes of the regular board meeting from April 15th, 2025. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Right. Well, with that, we need to administer the oath of office for newly elected trustees. So why don't we start in alphabetical order? And I invite Darnell to come up. I'm no judge without a roll, but I'm going to administer the oath. So, if you would put your hand up, that would be wonderful. So just repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Darnell McClellan,
Having been appointed to the office of library trustee
being appointed to the office of library trustee
in the village of Arlington Heights,
in the village of Arlington Heights,
in the county of Cook,
in the county of Cook,
do solemnly swear and affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. In a minute here. Does Darnell join us at the table right now? Not yet. Okay. Let us hear in our next trustee, Barbara Watts. Hi, all right.
I, Barbara Watts,
Having been appointed to the office
having been appointed to the office
of library trustee
of library trustee
in the village of Arlington Heights,
in the village of Arlington Heights,
in the county of Cook,
in the county of Cook,
do solemnly swear and affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. Okay, so now that we've done that, we need to adjourn the 2023 through 2025 Board of Library Trustees and convene our new board. So may I have a motion
I
to
make
adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn the
board, the 2023-2025 Board of Library Trustees.
And we have a second.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. We are adjourned. Bye, guys.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you. We will see you around, for sure. And you can always come to our meetings.
I'm right over here.
Watch them. So now we welcome our two new board members.
Here, and Darnell can come sit here.
Get this now. We're gonna get spoiled. That's why I said, I'm not expecting this every week. And I'm gonna put in my preferences, put in my list. Don't let the movie.
And they have official plaques with their names on it. They will get business cards and name tags, and they have
T-shirts.
Yeah, right.
Walk it out. Yes.
All right, so at this point of the meeting, now that we have the new board, we are going to take a roll call with the new board. So I would like to have a roll call of the board of the 2025 through 2027 Board of Library Trustees.
Trustee Burrell,
Here.
trustee Gala,
Here.
trustee Kelly,
Here.
trustee McLean,
Here.
trustee Meadow,
Here.
trustee Watts here, president Samari.
Here. All right, so at this point in the meeting, we are going to, I have a point of clarification. Could we take a couple pictures, or I just feel like, I'm not sure if everyone wants to stay for our entire meeting. So, why don't we take a couple pictures with the new board? Sure. Does someone's family member want, you guys want a picture? Just a quick one, just a quick one. He'll bring treats home. It'll be fun. Thank you for coming. There they are officially at the table. Would you like to get a picture with your family at the flag? Why don't you each do that? That's a nice picture.
Thank you.
You're welcome. George, come on. Would be missed. All right, I'll. Wonderful, thank you. All right, if there are refreshments, if people would like to grab a cupcake, if you guys want to grab a cupcake, cup of coffee. All right. So, moving on to the next portion of our meeting, we will take nominations for election of officers. Are any nominations? We should start with the president and then go to vice president / secretary and then to treasurer.
Would these be made like a motion? Do we?
One, a motion, yes, one motion for each office.
Well, then I would move that the Arlington High School Memorial Library Board of Trustees nominate Amy Samari for president.
A second.
Is there a discussion or another nominee? Okay, I will abstain from the vote, and thank you for the nomination. Let's take a roll call.
Trustee Burrell,
Yes.
trustee Gala. Yes. Trustee Kelly,
Aye.
trustee McLean,
Yes.
trustee Meadow,
Present.
trustee Watts.
Yeah.
President Samari abstained.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I've enjoyed the past 2 years and I look forward to the next 2 years. So, with that, I would like to nominate for Vice President / Secretary, Jennifer Burrell. And do I have a second?
I second.
Are there any other nominations or discussion? All right, can we do a roll call?
Trustee Burrell, trustee Gala,
Yes.
trustee Kelly,
Aye.
trustee McLean,
Yes.
trustee Meadow,
Yes.
trustee Watts,
Yes.
President Samari.
Aye.
Thank you. Congratulations, Jennifer. Everyone here probably knows when the president is unable to attend a meeting, the vice president would run the meeting. And she also signs minutes and is the secretary for all of that kind of administrative work. Now moving on to our treasurer position. May I have a motion for a treasurer position?
I move that the board of the Arlington Heights Memorial Library trustees nominate Sarah Gala for treasurer.
I second.
Are there any other nominations? All right, any discussion? All right, let's have a roll call.
Trustee Burrell,
Yes.
trustee Gala,
Abstain.
trustee Kelly,
Aye.
trustee McLean,
Yes.
trustee Meadow,
Yes.
trustee Watts.
Yes.
President Samari.
Yes. All right, congratulations. Thank you, Sarah. All right, so now we have actually a very busy meeting tonight. Can you please tell us the liaison reports?
I have no report from the Friends or Foundation tonight,
Okay,
if they're both on the hiatus. So.
okay. I know that the foundation has their awarding of their scholarships in June. I think, we have the committee of the whole meeting before that. But I know that there was an invitation sent out for any of us to come and sit the Maker Place. So I don't know if they've made their selections yet. But I went to the families of the recipients were really appreciative, and it was a wonderful thing. So if you have a chance, if you can make it, please do. Okay, looking at the financial report, review of the financial report for the period ending April 30th.
Okay. For revenue, our real estate tax revenue totaled $314,915.32 for the month of April. The library received personal property replacement taxes in the amount of $9,150.28 this month. We've not received any other intergovernmental revenue yet this year, but we will see a small amount come through in the next month or so for cash in lieu of land and expect to receive the annual per capita grant in the next month or two as well. Copier printer revenue totaled $4,663.27. Meeting room fees were $225. Lost item charges totaled $848.62. April interest income was $21,940.50. Donations totaled $2,090.62. The Friends of the Library reimbursed us $8,506.03. Revenue collected for vehicle stickers totaled $398. Makerspace miscellaneous revenue was $549. And the total revenue collected in April was $363,834.88. For expenses, we're 33% of the way through our fiscal year, and we have expensed 34% of our total operating budget. And 8% of our total annual capital budget has been expensed as of April.
All right, and I know that perhaps for our new board members, the beginning of the year, sometimes we prepay subscriptions and some commodities and some things. So even though we have paid 4% of our budget, that doesn't mean necessarily that our budget is off or anything. It's just the way that it kind of comes out.
Yeah, it's a little front loaded with things that we pay for the entire year.
All right. Any questions? All right, reviewing the check register for the period ending April 30th.
Hey, I had a few questions on checks on page 5, check 104180 to SRC Electric. In the amount of $9,240. This is for 6 floor outlets in Kids World and the Lindsay Room, for improved access to power in these areas. We added 1 in the tween area, 2 in the snack area, 2 in the Lindsay Room, and then 1 underneath the table near the fiction stacks. And this is, since we reorganized the space 2 years ago now, we needed some better access to power in those areas. So we added those. That was budgeted for in 2025. On page 20, check 104186 to Today's Business Solutions in the amount of $563.52. This is for the public faxing service that we offer. This is for 1 quarter of the year and is pretty typical of what we spend for the public faxing. It's surprisingly still a pretty popular service. On page 33, check 104152 to the National AIDS Memorial in the amount of $760. That is for the National AIDS Memorial quilt that will be part of an upcoming exhibit this summer called Community and Craftivism. Will feature not only the AIDS quilt, but also the Palatine Freedom quilt, last year's AHML Pride quilt, and a Freedom to Read dress coming from Utah, which will display frequently challenged and banned book titles. It will run June 12th to July 23rd, and there will be a reception event on opening night. That was everything I had for check questions. Anybody else have anything?
It's interesting, the faxes, because I was just faxing something and I find that you don't do it much, so I can't remember how to do it. And I feel like new printers, it's harder to find that. So that's wonderful that we still have that.
Yeah.
All right, may I have a motion?
Yes, I move approval of the accounts payable check register for the Arlington Heights Memorial Library for April 30th, 2025, amount of $1,328,039.71.
Second?
All right, let's take a roll call, please.
Trustee Burrell,
Yes.
trustee Philip.
Yes.
Trustee Kelly,
Aye.
trustee McLean,
Yes.
trustee Meadow,
Yes.
trustee Watts.
Yes.
President Simmer.
Aye. All right, moving on to the executive director's report.
All right, so I will highlight a few things from the director's report. On the first page, this is kind of a holdover from, well, something that we're all very familiar with from last month. The library celebrated National Library Week last month by revealing the winners for the first ever Love Your Library bookmark contest. 5 winners were selected from more than 200 submissions received by local youth artists from school districts 25 and 214. The winners were invited to the library's April Committee of the Whole meeting, where Library Board President Amy Samari presented each winner with a certificate and printed copies of their winning bookmark. On the next page, our Makerspace Branch Assistant Manager, Chris Kruger, teamed up with Anthony and Chester from the Village of Arlington Heights Public Works. They used the Epilogue laser cutter to make etched tags and sublimation printer for a custom printed sash. These items were included in a shadow box that celebrated the outgoing Mayor Tom Hayes' accomplishments. The shadow box was presented to the mayor at the April Village Board meeting. And on that same page at the bottom there, Senior and Accessible Services staff, Renee and Katie, a tour of the library for 13 visitors from Lutheran Home, a senior living community in Arlington Heights. The highlight of the tour was visiting Kids World, where they played with the dollhouse, the ever-bright wall, a magnetic table, and interactive floor playground, sparking fond memories and inspiring new activity ideas for the Lutheran Home staff. Page 5. Our programs and exhibits manager, Jennifer Chaika, coordinated Illinois Library Presents April program, The Art of Forging with Alexis Nicole Nelson, which attracted over 2,160 attendees with more than 60 registered from Arlington Heights alone. Best known as the Black Forger on social media, Nelson was joined by Natalie Evans, a wild edible fruit, the food instructor who has presented previously at the library. And on that same page, a couple of staff highlights. Our Info Services Manager, Jolie Duncan, was selected to serve on the Public Library Association Conference Planning Committee. Over the next year, she'll work with librarians nationwide to select presentations and content for the 2026 PLA conference. Our Info Services librarian, Lynn Ann, was one of the moderators for Library Journal's Spring Day of Dialogue. The Day of Dialogue is an all-day virtual conference sponsored by Library Journal that offers an in-depth look at the biggest forthcoming books for summer, fall of 2025. And on the bottom there, our info services librarian Barb worked with the Business Interest Group Financial Fitness Committee to present a series of 3 personal finance programs on Zoom to 1,648 attendees. The committee worked together for several months and was comprised of 5 area libraries. The 3 programs were Planning for Retirement, Navigating Student Loans, and Terry Savage Talks Money. And on page 7, our tax services season wrapped up. The American Association of Retired Persons, better known as AARP, volunteers completed 668 tax preparations this year from February 3rd to April 14th, which is a 15% increase over 2024 appointments and the highest number since the library started offering this service. Between January and April, the tax information page on the library's website received 2,896 views. The tax table on the first floor was up from January 28th to April 19th. During that time, staff distributed 6,682 federal and state forms, in addition to forms printed by the info services staff for customers. The self-print station was available from January 28th to April 19th, where customers printed about 4,500 sheets. And on the bottom of that page, craft swap. The Makerspace specialist, or our Makerspace specialist, Lisa, coordinated the Makerplace's 4th annual craft swap. Over 2 weeks, Lisa and Makerplace volunteers collected approximately 237 cubic feet of donated supplies, including fabric, yarn, jewelry supplies, and sewing patterns. Over 130 residents donated, granting them early access to the swap 30 minutes before it opened to the public. This free event connected Makerplace customers with free arts and craft supplies and prevented these supplies from ending up in a landfill. Over 70 attendees took advantage of early entry and over 120 attendees participated in the swap. Leftover supplies were then donated to Greener Good and Goodwill in Arlington Heights. And then on the last page, just want to highlight a couple of things from the Makerplace. The Makerplace is supporting community engagement through various activities. A local quilting group began meeting at the Makerplace after Joanne's closure, where members learned about the free motion quilting machine and other resources. Additionally, Makerspace specialist Kate developed an intro to crochet class in response to high community demand. Attendees and a waste of over 40. These initiatives support hands-on experiences and tailored programs for the community. Chef Brian hosted his new biscuits and gravy class, where participants learned to make this American breakfast classic from scratch while picking up general cooking techniques. The recurring knife skills class focused on proper knife handling, cutting various produce, and knife care. During the talk and taste program, Chef Brian demonstrated how to make and peel hard-boiled eggs easily and how to do them using natural kitchen items. And our digital services and Makerplace advisor, Beth, led the Design It, Make It series, which is a digital services class designed to bridge the services between the main library and the Makerplace. Attendees created a design in the tech learning classroom on April 23rd and then met at the Makerplace on April 30th to learn how to supplement the design onto a mug. And then I just want to touch on a couple of stats. If you look at the first page of the statistics, the main library is down 6% this year so far, and the Makerplace is down about 14%. I just want to identify kind of the changes there that are influencing those changes. The main library, we're down a little bit as we compared to last year, because last year in January, we opened the new Kids World space, and we had a large influx of people come in. Mostly really peaked, or we saw maybe numbers in February, and then it kind of, slowly is tapering down. So we'll see that number probably, tighten up over the next few months. And then the Makerplace, we moved a lot of the Kids World programs that we were having at the Makerplace over to the main library to accommodate more kids, have a better environment for them. And we purchased some of the tools that we have at the Makerplace to have at the main space here. So to provide a better program for them. So that's why you're seeing some of those numbers down in those two areas. So that's everything I have on the records part. Anybody have any questions or?
Yeah.
Question?
Well, I just had 2 comments just with the senior center, that is significantly up, and but that's the library at the senior center, right? I mean, that's almost a 30% increase.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's pretty significant,
yeah.
yeah, and the bookmobile is up also, so we're seeing those things trending
Yeah.
up. And so that's why I kind of wanted
Yeah, no,
to
I am.
identify why, the difference in the main
Yeah.
library and the Maker Place
Yeah.
going down, so.
Have we added any material there?
Is there anything over at the senior center? David?
Okay, well, I feel like since you all took us there for the meeting, I feel like I know.
No, so, well, it's great. We are always adding programming and things like that, and maybe duplicating some successful programs over there, but we've been promoting it, and people are realizing it's such a.
Right, it is. So thank you. And I just had one more comment on just from the report about the climate cafe. I know you can't touch on everything, but just that I thought it was really interesting that, similar to the death cafes from, especially our One Book, One Village, but just the climate cafes that people really seem to be feeling like they found a place. So how long have those been? I don't know. I didn't know those were
I
happening.
think that was the first one,
Oh, okay.
yeah. I don't know if it's been going anywhere.
Yeah, no, it was just an interesting kind of take on that. So again, kudos to the program for branching out into another demographic. So thank you.
Yeah, I'm always struck by how many places we are in the community. Meeting people where they are, whether it's the bookmobile or senior center branch, but also visits to places. And then bringing people in this, Lutheran home residents. I love that there's, financial tax information and social opportunities for those late 20, early 30s, that demographic that's hard to reach sometimes. From crafting to seed swaps to tax services, I feel like we're really working to get to people where they are, which is wonderful. And again, I always encourage people to go on the website. I think this director's report is such a wonderful, handy way to see, like, when people ask you what's happening at the library. Yes, we have the wonderful brochure, but you also have this, like, hey, did you see what we did last month? Because a lot of these we replicate if it's successful, and some of the cooking classes, and I know the death cafes were really popular, and so, we do them more regularly. So anything we can do to get the word out is always a good thing. Anyone else? No. Okay. All right, so we have one item on the old business agenda tonight, and that is authorization of construction management services for the 2025 interior renovation project.
Yeah, so this is kind of a continuation of the approval that we had last month to move forward with the 2025 project with the contractor bids coming in. Once we had that final price of what it was going to be, we're bringing now the contracts or the general contractor contract to be approved. This time we waited until we had the actual numbers of what those bids were going to be. So because so many of the elements of their contract are based on the project cost, we wanted to ensure that we were basically approving what we would be actually moving forward with. So there are a number of different elements within this. There's about 5 different elements that are considered in the contract. The pre-construction management services, we've already completed that with them. So this was something that they were comfortable doing without the contract. And it was under the $20,000 authority to bring it to the board. So we moved ahead with the pre-contract stuff, which they work with us to price everything, go through the whole bid process, do the opening with us, and make a recommendation on moving forward with the contractors. Then the construction management is really a lot of the different elements of the managing the project, not necessarily being on site, but the coordination, the scheduling, the on-site, some of the on-site supervision, or coordinating that, and then the general administrative coordination. That is 4.75% of the construction cost. We're figuring the total construction cost estimated to be no more than $789,980. So that fee is expected to be $3,724. So all of these numbers that I'm giving you are estimates based on what the project is actually going to require as we go through it. So these were figured, pretty responsibly as far as I don't see us going over these numbers. The general liability expense is general liability insurance for the holding of the contracts and the contractors or subcontractors. That's 0.75% of the project cost. That's estimated at $5,925. The project staff expense, so this is the actual on-site supervision and administrative related expenses. So the cost for the full-time supervision is $22,320 a month. This is a little bit different than what we did in the last project. The last project, we did part-time supervision. We felt that we knew kind of, we could block out those restrooms. We know they're just not going to be available. And part-time supervision was okay. With this project, being that it's going to be so disruptive as far as taking ceiling out and the flooring and replacing that, we really feel it's important to have a full-time supervisor here to ensure that we're hitting the timelines that we need to hit. Because while we're working on this lobby and some of these the public spaces up here, the study rooms may not be available, the Hendrickson room's not going to be available, and there are certain things that we need to hit so we can have, say, the Friends book sale and, you know, some programs that are going to happen a little bit later in the year. So we want to ensure that all of that stuff works very fluidly and efficiently. So that is what we're estimating. Well, that is the cost per month. We're estimating 5 months for the supervision. That is August through December. We're probably going to start like mid-August, so it might be a little bit lower. But that's about what we'll be using. And so the total for that is $111,600 for that on-site supervision. Then the expenses are costs associated with managing the project. They're not directly attributable to trade contractor bid packages. So these are things that the project management company will be using, such as the software, cleanup, labor, dumpsters, safety measures, stuff like that. They're a little bit more tangible things that we'll have on site, and that is estimated to be $15,800. So the total there, $186,549 is all of the construction management for the 5 months. This is about, I want to say about $25,000 lower than what I had shown you guys when we talked about the total budget and what we had approved at the last meeting. So we were able to even trim it down a little bit more. So yeah, so that's it. I have the contract from SMC. We'll run through that with our attorney before signing it. Our attorney has seen the contracts from SMC before, and we've got a little tree with them. They've been very good to us, and so I don't see any issue with that.
Yes.
Thank you for the explanation. So for the project staff expense, construction's not my field. Going from that part-time to full-time, is there any sort of like in that reasoning you were saying that there's more needed to supervision, but on their end, is there any more like not guarantee us that things would be done on time versus part-time? Is that how they kind of sell it to us?
No,
or?
not really. I mean, it was really more us saying, yes, you know, we'd like to move, because we always had that option when we
Sure.
were looking at this. We just felt that because this is so, our public access to the second floor is so dependent upon making sure that this moves forward.
Yeah.
We want to ensure that someone is here watching the contractors and ensuring that, you know, every day schedules are being made rather than coming in 3 days a week or, you know, doing half days, stuff like that. It's tough when that communication breaks down between the general and the contractors.
Sure.
Some projects, it's fine, you know,
Yeah.
that can wait till tomorrow or they can wait till Wednesday. But for this one, we really want to ensure that it stays on track. So it was a conversation with the owner of the company to just kind of talk about the whole layout of the project.
Okay. And what that looks like. That's what I'm thinking from my own experience with just personal construction is, yes, you want someone there. So, just was there in the past, like part-time, it didn't necessarily, you saw gaps where there could have been helpful to
Yeah.
have more people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right. Or we were waiting on things that, you know,
Okay.
especially with when the general is kind of if they're working part-time, they might be working on two
different
projects
projects.
at the same time. And so, it helps to
Okay.
ensure that ours is priority and moving forward.
Okay. And it's full-time, just like the Monday through Friday, is it 5 days a week?
Yeah,
Or they just
right.
guarantee? Okay. Thank you.
I had a question about the same thing. So is that billed on like a full month basis, or is it kind of like half month or by the day?
It gets billed, I wanna say it gets billed monthly with the regular, bills from the contractors, so.
Oh, sorry, maybe I need to rephrase this. I didn't word that very well. So if we need 4.5 months
Oh,
or
I
five
gotcha.
and a half months, yeah,
Gotcha. I'm pretty sure they can break it out based
Okay.
on, number of hours that we need. There is a separate section in the contract for just like hourly,
Oh, okay.
components, so if we wanted to add some more or pull it back.
Okay.
SMC's doing great to work with, so I have no doubt that, if we say, this is all an estimate too, so.
Right.
He's estimating, or we're estimating that we're gonna need him for 5 months, but it might be 4.5, it might be
Okay.
3, it might be, who knows? So that would all be built based on actuals.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure it wasn't like 5 months in one day. You're getting
Right,
it
it
for
bumps you to
6,
another
like,
month, yeah, no, that's a very good, very good question, yeah.
Is this project resource like the supervisor, like a dedicated resource where it's the same consistent person throughout the period of the project, or, okay?
Yeah.
They don't have flexibility, to, like swap people out.
Right, yeah,
I would say that line item jumped out at me as well. And so if there's any way, depending on how the contractors are working or when the materials come in or whatever, if there's any way we can really make sure that we need that full time, like you're saying, maybe we can do part-time in August if not everything's here or whatever, and it could be 3 days a week.
Yeah.
And then maybe, a few months of full-time, and then maybe in November, again, we could go to part-time. I guess I would just, I know this is an estimate, and I know this is based on, a tight time schedule, but that's a pretty big number,
Yeah.
so anything we can do to
sure.
trim it or squeeze it, so we're really working, you hate to have a day where nothing's happening.
Yeah,
When,
totally.
especially when those rooms are closed.
Right.
Yeah,
Any project like this, construction project needs supervision. So if we're not paying this way, we're paying through our staff, then what's our head guy?
Gary,
Gary.
yeah.
Gary's gonna have to do it. There has to be supervision for the different trades that are coming, so that, the work is not only done, but it's done properly. So it's very important.
yeah, absolutely.
Agree.
And I think, to your point, if there's a busy time where it's the most impactful, we
Right.
use the full time then, and maybe
Right.
scale it back as we taper toward the end, I think, and that's kind of what you're saying.
Right.
Just be as.
Yeah, as
responsible
efficient as
Yeah.
possible, and I know that we want this, I mean, in a perfect world, we would have the rooms open for, senior or finals in December and all the things that happen.
Mhm.
I recognize that we may not have that opportunity,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I know that the rooms are so utilized during finals and specific times in the calendar.
Yeah, and another thing that Carol mentioned is, with this kind of project, we do want that supervision.
Yeah.
It is very important. And especially opening up the ceilings and stuff. Once you take that grid out and now everything's exposed, it is, safety is number one. We have to make sure that that is all being monitored, that, what's going back up there and how things are prepped every day. To ensure that if people are walking under it, it's safe, or if, it needs to be blocked off, it needs to be blocked off, but we'd like to get it back in service as quickly as possible. So, I think it's money well spent either way.
Yeah,
Actually, it just made me think of something. Does that affect our liability at all by having more supervision or no, like expense?
No, I don't think so. How do you mean our liability?
Like liability, expense, like if, in my mind, I'm thinking you have more supervision, you have, insurance, like would be, coverage would be.
discounted or something.
Yes, thank you.
No, I don't think it
It
is.
doesn't matter, so or it's not, you don't get a penalty for having less supervision.
No,
'cause more.
not that I'm aware of.
Alright,
I just, I was gonna say, I was second what Carol said, being in the industry, I think it's imperative that there's full time. I would go on the other side of that, and I know SMC too, so I work with them, they're very good, I trust them, but is the, have they indicated anything if there is overtime? What is the overtime kind of, like, if, like we're talking about finals, I'm talking about having someone here full time, if it goes more because it's crunch time, what that would do to the 111, how much it would up it if they're thinking it would go.
I don't know about overtime. I can ask them, but I not expect that we would be doing things in, off the regular schedule.
Okay,
Only because not only would it incur additional costs here, it would incur additional costs by the contractors, which, as you know, is gonna be exponentially more expensive
right,
than.
okay, so that's what I
So-
just want to say that. No.
So I would say that, we always avoid, kind of the off-hour stuff as much as possible to, avoid those charges, but there may be a time where we have to, do some for opens, and so they might get here very early. When we've done stuff like that in the past, they've never charged us
No,
additional.
Shields McNutt will not charge you. No. They won't charge you extra. They haven't us.
Yeah,
I'm
right,
sure
I was,
they
yeah, they
won't
haven't
either.
for us either.
And over the 5 months, I mean, we would know what the timing is coming like if it's like midway through. So, okay.
All right. Well, with that, I would entertain a motion.
We'll move that the Board of Library Trustees approves entering into a contract with Shales McNutt Construction for construction management services for the 2025 interior renovation project upon review by the library attorney.
Second.
All right, may I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Barone,
Yes.
trustee Bella,
Yes.
trustee Kelly,
Aye.
trustee McLeany,
Yes.
trustee Nettle,
Yes.
trustee Watts,
Yes.
president Smart.
Hi. All right. Moving on to new business.
All right, so I would like to introduce Sasha Vasilic. He's gonna talk to us about the library's impact report for 2024. I'm gonna bring it up here on the screen. 1 second.
Look at all these, it's been like us. I think that is just. So,
Good morning, Sasha.
Good evening, trustees, staff, community members, and everyone who is streaming this meeting on YouTube. As Mike said, my name is Sasha Vasilic, and I'm the library's Director of Communications and Marketing. I'm honored to be here today to witness library history as we welcome two new trustees, welcome to the board, and to present all of you the library's 2024 impact report. Everyone at the table should have a printed version of the report, so please follow along with the printed version, or you can view the big screen to view the digital version. Just to start, a little bit of history. So the library has been publishing annual reports since 2018. But this year, my team and I decided to toss everything from the past and create a new report with a new name and a new design to bring forward a new way to highlight the library's positive impact to the Arlington Heights community. I would like to thank the communications and marketing team, as well as the library staff members who contributed to this report. Also, I have to mention that we wouldn't have anything to report on if it wasn't for all the library staff members who make a positive impact on the Arlington Heights community every single day. So thank you to our staff. I love every single page in this report. I'm so happy that we're kicking off the annual report with something new and different. And on the left-hand side is a visual representation to all of the library access points in the community. So the biggest circles are the three buildings. So the main library building, the Maker Place, and as mentioned earlier, the Arlington Senior Center, where the library has its own space there called the Reading Room. So besides those three buildings, we also have 27 bookmobile stops. When I first started here, someone told me that if you're going on Arlington Heights Road from north to south during high traffic, it could take you 30 minutes to get to from point A to point B. So we have a lot of ground to cover, and I really love how we represent every single bookmobile stop, the buildings, and then also we have here the three pickup lockers. So the one in the center, because it is here at the library, and then the new ones that we launched not too long ago on the north side at Camelot Park and the south side at Heritage Park. So it is, as President Samari mentioned not too long ago, it is one of the library's strategic plan goals to to bring the library outside of its walls into the community. So that's another great representation on this map of how much we do for the community. On page 3, which is on the right, is something also new, which is, sorry.
I'm tired of looking at
Is,
yourself.
this is the first time, in our reporting that we've had a joint letter that features the executive director and, the board president with a one-time better some library, jokes in there. And to really help kick off the, presentation on the report, I just wanted to read a short excerpt from the letter. As you read through the many positive ways the library helped build, impact, and encourage the community in 2024, we hope you see yourself through a program that inspired you, a community service project you completed, or a new skill you learned through a one-on-one deployment. So, the impact report has 3 main sections, I would like to call them. We've broken up all of our accomplishments in, 3 sections, which are community building, community impact, and community engagement. So, a few ways the library helped build the community in 2024 included, the solar eclipse viewing party at North School Park that brought together over 700 community members. FanCon, the library's annual pop culture event that over 1,000 people attended, and the One Book, One Village author event that over 250 people attended in person and virtually. The Maker Place provided a space for the community to make, grow their skills, and share with other creatives in a community setting such as at the Fibercraft Meetup and the Maker Show and Tell. And finally, the library brought the business community together brought together to learn from each other's experiences and network through programs like Small Business Coffee and Connect and the Nonprofit Exchange. A few ways the library impacted the community in 2024 included the Arlington Heights Memorial Library being the only library in the area that offers English as a second language program 6 days a week to better serve the community. Over 7,000 participants attended more than 600 programs, and the ESL and Literacy Services team held over 5,000 hour-long one-on-one tutoring sessions. Volunteer, internship, and job opportunities were made available for teens and adults at the Illinois Department of Employment Security Job Fair, Teen Job Fair, and Volunteer Fair, where over 600 people attended in total. These fairs led to on-site interviews, job offers, and more. And finally, the library continued its commitment to inclusion by hosting one-on-one interview skills sessions for autistic individuals, life skills classes for students and their adult aides, and Tinker Days at Forest View Educational Center for the younger special needs community. And finally, on the community engagement spread, a few ways the library engaged with the community in 2024 included collaborating with community partners to deliver programs and resources, including a new Village of Arlington Heights Social Worker in the Library monthly program, the annual District 25 Student Art Show, hosting the Chicago Lighthouse for their Low Vision Products Roadshow, and the Pride Month pop-up at the Farmers Market with Glenn's Friends. Another way that we engaged was by interacting with thousands of community members at outreach events and at one of the 27 bookmobile stops in the community, including senior living centers. We also recognized Heritage and Awareness Months with programs, book lists, and displays for Black History Month, Women's History Month, and more. So this spread we call by the numbers. So it's kind of taking a year in review with some of our statistics. So a few of them that I want to just highlight today is well, I want to start by saying you'll see the word up a lot. In 2024, we really, as we kind of put over the year, reached new heights. So a few that I just want to mention that are on both of the pages is Maker Place visitors up over 15%. Senior Center Reading Room visitors up over 22%. Library programs offered to the community up almost 6%. Library program attendance over 10%. One-on-one appointments, over 8,300 one-on-one appointments, and these include resume reviews, ESL tutoring, as I mentioned not too long ago, tech help, and more. A very popular service that we offer, which is museum and attraction passes. So in 2024, we issued 733 of them, up over 11% from the previous year. And last but not least, the library, over 7,000 library deliveries of items were made in the community to our homebound customers. And the last page of the annual report highlights some of the popular materials and items that were checked out by the community. A few that are checked out by the community, but also some of the online resources and some popular equipment that our customers are using at the Makerplace. A couple that I would highlight is the Roku sticks that are part of our Library of Things collection, were the most popular in 2024. In regards to the Library of Things collection, the most popular online resource was access to the New York Times. And the most popular piece of equipment at the Makerplace that were used by our customers was the laser cutter. Year after year, we win awards and we continue to be recognized. And a couple that I want to just mention from this list is we have the award right over there, which is the Intergovernmental Cooperative Award with the Arlington Heights Park District. And I believe it was earlier this year, the Youth Services team presented actually at the board meeting for our Family Place Library certification. Thank you all for your time this evening as I presented to you all just a little sliver of the many impactful things that the library offers to the community. Thank you for your time. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Sasha, how are you disseminating this to the community?
It's on our website right now. It's mostly going to be a digital.
Right, yeah.
Digital communication, so it's gonna be on our website. So we can do that through our email channel.
Rather than print copies, yeah.
I really like it though. It was very well put together and it does a great job of highlighting some of the major ways that you touch the community. Really cool.
Yeah, I love that you have the popular in the community, because I know, I think usually at the beginning of the year, or maybe not usually, but last couple of years, yeah, we've done like, these were the books that were checked out, but I love that you also have like the Library of Things and the Makerplace.
It was hard to just get it.
Yeah.
You know, there's a little bit of a balance.
Yeah.
I think it's fabulous. I'm so impressed. And I know that part of it is whittling down what to include in it because there's so much, right? If you go through all of Mike's executive director reports. So I think that you did an excellent job with, you know, deciding what to highlight. The numbers are, you know, so incredible. And I'm thinking, as we saw the tonight, like what's gonna happen some year if we don't go up, but we'll just talk about all the other wonderful things. Anyway, I think it's really, really well done. So kudos to you and your entire staff. I love, that was so clever to start with, like literally where we are in the community. And we do have such a long town. You know, depending where you live, you know, your little world perhaps, but yeah, and it's kind of a look back at, oh, I remember it seems so long ago the eclipse happened, but it was just last year. So I think that's fabulous. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you for making copies for us. It's always nice. Oh, maybe I should say because. All right, and I'm assuming you're gonna present to staff as part of. Yeah, wonderful. Okay, so now we have the budget variance report, I'm assuming.
I would invite Sarah to join us at the table.
Yeah.
Oh, you get that.
Oh, I love that.
Well, okay. I thought you might have something on the board. I thought you might have something up there.
No, I don't. I just was gonna refer to the schedules that are in your packets. Okay. If any
as nice looking as what Sasha presented, but the good news that he shared, but more from a numbers perspective, as it relates to 2024. So congratulations again and welcome, and, yeah, give you a complete picture of 2024, now that you've seen the impact report. So, like I said, I'm just gonna look at the schedules. I'm starting with page 1 of, the variance schedule. That's the summary of financial activity by department. So, you know, whereas Sasha kept showing you the word up, I'm gonna hopefully show you the word under budget a lot, which is good. And just for those of you who are new, like our budget philosophy, I do try to be conservative, but we don't try to be overly conservative either. We do try to be realistic, constantly are honing all of the accounts with the manager's help, to get as realistic, a guess as we can, but if, you know, we do err a little bit on the side of being conservative, if possible, just to be responsible. So, as you can see, every department came in under budget in total for the year ending December 31st, 2024, with the exception of, security, which was just barely over, and I'll explain that one in a moment. But overall, the results were very, very good, and the department heads did a really good job, you know, managing their controllable expenses, really well. So it's great to see that as a quick snapshot. And overall, as an organization, we came in, just under $1.1 million under budget, or 6.5% in our operating fund, which is also worth noting is very close to our prior year 2023 results as well. It was pretty close. So then on pages 2 through 4, it's a different breakout of those same exact totals. So this time it's by account rather than by department. So here you can see that every major expense category came in underspent in 2024. There are, you know, a few offsets within the categories where, you know, certain accounts came over, and but they were always offset, and in total the categories were under budget. Very few individual accounts really ended the year over budget, which is good. And you know, what these pages are looking at organizational totals for each account, but you know, sometimes the variances are driven by, you know, a summation of all the different departments, but sometimes they're driven just by one account. So for example, on page 2, the medical insurance account, number 1905, that was under budget by $32,401. But we were expecting this, and this is entirely related to the Maker Place department. So as you get further along in the schedules, you'll actually see the written explanation for that all entirely on the Maker Place. And spoiler alert, it's just because the village did not end up charging us a piece of medical insurance allocation for a placeholder for a full-time position that we had put in, because it was just a placeholder. So we did budget in case they were going to allocate us some costs, but they ended up not allocating. So we were expecting that capability. On the same page, you'll see that the equipment maintenance account 2102 appears quite underspent. And that again is coming entirely from one department, the IT department. So it's related to a newer audit adjustment we have to make, but I'm actually going to discuss that because it's related to some technical accounting reasons. So when I get to the department pages, I'll circle back to that one. But overall, salaries and benefits taken together were under budget by about 3.7%. And then all the remaining operating expense categories were favorable by combined 14.2%. So what's interesting about that is that in the past, most of our favorability was caused by those personnel accounts and open positions, but we're starting to see that shift, and that the source of the favorability for the organization is starting to shift to some of those new expense management by the departments and some of those other expense categories. So it's not all just driven by personnel, which is our biggest cost. But it's not necessarily the driver. It's kind of more equally driven by across the board this time. So then pages 5 through 21 include a breakout of each individual department's line item. So you can see in a little bit more detail the same results for the year. So the first schedule was operating totals by department. The second was operating totals by account. And now these pages are operating totals by department and account. So we're just slicing, dicing the same total information in various ways for you. And we've also included written commentary for any department account combination that came in either under or over budget by at least $5,000 and 30%. So if you've had a chance to read through some of the explanations, you probably noticed there aren't a lot of overarching themes. And so some of you who have been, you know, here for a while, like back to like maybe COVID times, you'd see a lot of explanations like, oh, COVID, this is
underspent because of COVID, they're still coming back from COVID, things like that. Not a lot of overarching themes causing the variances. There's really not a ton of variances hitting that threshold in general. So the explanations are pretty sporadic and unrelated. So I'll just walk through and highlight a few of them, not all of them, you can read through what you like and ask questions on anything, of course, but I did get a few questions that I'll highlight. So starting on page 5, this is the admin department, and the professional services account 2005 was over budget by $8,224 or 29.8%. Which is not technically the 30% threshold, but it's very, very close, so we just decided to do that anyway. But this is due to delivery services utilized for the pickup of returns at the parks due to staffing shortages. So just note, going forward in 2025, we're expecting to drop the delivery service soon. Is we're in the process of onboarding new staff who will pick up that work internally. Then on page 7, the HR, this is the HR department, tuition reimbursement account 4062, down towards the bottom there, was underspent as compared to the board set budget. But it was utilized by 4 staff members in 2024. They were all pursuing their MLIS degrees. 2 were from circulation, 1 was from IT, and 1 is from Maker Place. So far in 2025, we still have the 2 circ employees enrolled, and then of the other 2 from 2024, 1 graduated and 1 hit the lifetime max for reimbursement. But we do continue to educate staff, let them know its benefits out there, and try to, encourage folks to use it. On page 8, you'll see some standard language on this page that just says gifts and grants estimate across all those different account lines. And this is because 6004, this is the department code for, it's a pass-through department for expenditures that are either paid for out of donation money or more often are reimbursed to us by the Friends of the Library. So for all of these costs that you see on this page, we received the same exact amount of revenue to offset them. So it's a net 0 to our budget. And at budget time, we don't know what the Friends is going to approve in wish list items throughout the year, so we make our best guess. But because we don't know, that can cause swings on an account level because we're not sure what we're going to ask for, we're not sure what they're going to approve. But it doesn't impact our budget on a net basis. So that's what that explanation means. On page 10, we have the IT department and equipment maintenance account 2102, and this I alluded to earlier. There is a variance showing us as well under budget here. And this is due to a newly required accounting treatment for something referred to as SBITAs, which stands for Subscription-Based Information Technology Agreements. So Sierra is our integrated library system, which is our main circulation cataloging platform. And, although we have lots of subscriptions here at the library, it's one of only a few that are subject to this special accounting treatment. And basically that treatment says that certain long-term leases, like multi-year leases, and only some of the multi-year leases, whether it's for a physical lease, which we don't have any of here at the library, or a subscription asset like this, has to be set up as a capital asset and then amortized over the term of the lease. So because it's now considered a long-term capital asset, it's like pulled out of these, short-term operating results, and they sit on our long-term funds. So since this is a short-term viewpoint, it's like we're pulling it out of there. We did pay for it, it's just sitting on our books, and you'll hear more about it next month from the auditors because that shows up a lot in their audited report, and they'll do a better job explaining it than I will, but it is just a technical requirement. It's still there, and excluding that kind of pulling that chunk out, the account would have only been $8,000 or 3.8% underspent. Then finally, the last one I'll point out is on page 11, security. And I'm only pointing this one out because it's the one department that popped out on that first page that we saw. And this department was over budget simply due to our decision to replace our AED device, which is obviously very, very important. The security department does a really, really good job maintaining those batteries, making sure they're working up to date. It was time to replace one, didn't budget for it. It's about every 7 to 10 years. Of course, very important. We're going to go ahead and get that, but it just pops out because their operating cost budget is so small. So going forward, we'll just budget for that every 7 to 10 years, kind of like contingency money. And then page 21, I'll just show you, I kind of mentioned, you know, how you can see it, depending on how you're slicing and dicing the information. Up at the top of page 21, you can kind of see that same medical insurance variance popping out here. Like I said, it's entirely related to need replace, so this is where you can see the written explanation of that. Moving on to page 22, this is a different type of schedule. So this is the summer capital expenditures for 2024. So before everything I was talking about before with our operating fund, this is our capital expenditures fund. So similar to operating fund, this fund also came in under budget for the year. This was by $133,000 or 9%. And this presentation, for those of you who are used to seeing the dashboard every single month, it just looks a little different than what you're used to seeing there, because instead of by project, it's by general ledger account number, but it's all the same information. It's just kind of thrown on its side, and you can see it by account number instead of by project. And then last, on page 23, I've included a schedule of 2024 revenues collected by account. Overall, we collected 99.1% of expected revenue last year, so that's good. And property taxes, including PPRT, which is those first 4 lines taken together, came in right at 98.3%. And that's very good. And unfortunately, we don't have a lot of ways to really further hone that budget for this, because we get the amount to budget for PPRT directly from the Illinois Department of Revenue. And then the village, they do constantly assess our collections. They levy our taxes for us, and they constantly are checking for how much are we actually collecting, and they can assess, because we're in Cook County, something called a loss and cost factor up to 5% to try to recoup some of what we didn't collect in the previous year. So right now that's at 2% is what we assess when the village extends the levy. So they are keeping an eye on what we're actually bringing in compared to what we budget. And then they're adjusting that loss and cost factor accordingly to try to get that as close to 100% budget as possible. And then of all the other revenue accounts, the biggest driver for the total favorable variance in that group of accounts was the $50,000 live and learn grant, a large cash in lieu of land payment at the end of the year, and then interest income. And I did have one question on the interest income and the difference between the 3 investment revenue accounts that the village books for us as our investment manager. And the first one, so that's they're kind of in the middle of this schedule. They start with 461 and 462. So 46102, interest on investments, that's just regular bank and money market interest income. And then 462-08, gain loss on investments, is revenue generated when invested assets in our portfolio are either bought or sold. And then 462-10, market value adjustments, is interest for our investment in IMET, which is the Illinois Metropolitan Investment Fund, which is a special fund specific for like local governments in Illinois. It's got good yield, very liquid. We do keep, the village on our behalf keeps a lot less assets in IMET versus just bank and money market accounts. So that's why you kind of see there's only a little bit of actual expenditures there versus, or revenue there versus the regular interest. And then from a budget perspective, we're just basing it on history. That's kind of how the village budgets for too. And we'll talk about how we budget all these things, coming up very soon actually, but we just budget in the one account just to keep it simple, because we don't really have a good way of breaking it down further. But that's all I have prepared for the 2024 variances. Next month, like I said, you'll hear from our auditor one more time on 2024, the audited report, and then in the same meeting, you'll hear about 2026. You'll hear from Mike about 2025. It's like a lot of years in one next month. So, do you have any questions?
Yeah, on page 23, what is the difference between 41190, the contributions, and 48370, the donations? Like, just because the budget is so far off than the actual on both of them, they kind of flip-flopped.
41190, and then what was the other one?
48370, the 95,000 budget for donations, but then only the 5,000 for that. Where does it grant?
41190 is cash in lieu of land. So that is, it's a payment that's made as part of the land development process. The village pays it to us. It's to compensate the library for property tax revenue that is lost due to tax exempt ownership of real property. I don't fully understand it, to be perfectly honest, but it's a payment that the village gives to us as they're developing property. Donations, on the other hand, is when we use funds that are sitting in deferred revenue that has been donated to the library. So that's a large number budgeted. That 95,000 we budgeted we received some very, very generous trust donations to the library, and we were expecting to use them in 2024 on a couple of things. We're hanging on to them. We're probably going to use them to other projects coming up. So it's still sitting in deferred.
Okay, so we already
didn't-
have that. It's not like we're trying to get 95,000.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah, we already
It's just
have that.
expense, the 2,400 was
Exactly,
expensive.
it's kind of an accounting semantics thing because
Yeah.
we have the cash, it's sitting in deferred revenue.
Right, no,
Until we use
that
it.
explains it.
Did I
Okay,
mention,
thank you.
about half of that was from the lockers that we were gonna use some of this donation money.
But then
for the lockers,
Gallagher
but Gallagher pays for it.
Got it. And what is the lifetime max for tuition reimbursement per person?
Is it?
I need to ask Lisa.
Have you ever done like a
Remember.
case? I mean, I know that's a different discussion, but I'm just curious. I'm like, you know.
Our
so-
HR manager.
I can look it up
would-
here for you.
We just did that.
Yeah. So I think it's pretty generous, like for library reasons.
I thought we copied you, so it could be 10,000.
It's something that was the number I was.
Well, first of all, thank you for putting this together. It's super helpful, and especially for those of us that are not accountants, I found it pretty easy to understand. I did want to get a public shout out to the finance department that came closest to their.
Oh.
budget. Because I feel like last year you did like you missed it. a
Yeah,
little,
we
and you
missed it
were-
last year.
And you were upset about that, so you made for it.
It's a personal challenge.
yeah. I guess the only thing that, I mean, we did so well, we spent less than we budgeted by a lot, and I think we didn't expect it to come in quite this low.
Right.
And other than that tax money from the, that we don't have any control over, the rest, like the bottom part of our revenue collected was all
Mhm.
over, we collected than we anticipated. So I guess, the hard part is just like, for me, it was the first 5 health numbers, I guess. So if the village tells you, when do they tell you? They just give us PPRT. They don't tell us at the beginning of the year, expect X.
No, and
So
they
you're-
don't even do it. It's the Illinois Department of Revenue that's
Yeah.
telling us too.
Yeah.
It's not even the village.
So that's a super hard one to budget for.
Mhm.
And then the real estate taxes, even though we added the 2% lost cost,
Mhm.
we still didn't get what we should have.
Yeah, and they'll just continue to kind of look at that, and they don't adjust that loss and cost factor very often. They
No,
only adjust
Cause
it
it
once.
used to be 1.
It was 1%, they only upped it the 1 more percent,
Right.
and I'm sure they're thinking about the burden of taxpayers.
Right,
Because
of
this is hitting the
course.
people who are paying their taxes, right?
Right.
We all pay, some people
Mhm.
don't, and then they're gonna, assess another factor. I'm sure they're being
Yeah.
very thoughtful about how frequently they raise that. They can go up to 5% in Cook County.
Yeah.
And they only changed it from
Yeah.
1% to 2% one time, and that is based on, they're looking at what's being
Right.
collected.
I'm just curious. I'd have to go look to see what other communities do. I wonder if there's any towns that take the whole 5%. I'm not saying we should, but I'm just curious.
Mhm.
Anyway, I think, it feels to me like every year that I've been here, the budget gets closer and closer. Which is fabulous because, we wanna spend the money that we get from taxpayers. But we don't wanna overtax, we wanna be really fiscally responsible. And I
Yeah.
think we are, so.
Yeah, and I do think it's a little closer even than the summary page lets on because of that one accounting adjustment,
Right.
right? We did pull out, I forget what it was, 100,000,
Yeah.
that's sitting in a long-term fund, if you were to pull that out here, it was more like maybe 800,000 favorable, but there's very few of those adjustments, and those all show up in the audited report too.
Right,
So
well, and just from my calculations, I did it right. The ones that are out of our control, the taxes essentially $247,000, 236,
Mhm.
or $247,236 less than than we should have gotten from tax money, so. I mean, I guess there's nothing we can do about it, but it's something to keep in mind as we budget, I suppose. And I think it also reinforces the idea that we made the right decision by levying this year. Because we didn't raise taxes for this budget, and for years and years and years, we didn't levy more money, but we did this year, and that was a smart thing to do.
Just to circle back to the tuition reimbursement, the max is 10,000.
Okay.
So
But could someone use it to finish their undergraduate degree perhaps and then work towards a master of?
it's $10,000 lifetime.
Right, that's what I mean though, but like, they may have used part of it for undergrad and that's why they ran out, right? Or I don't know.
Sure.
You could use it for both.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was,
Any restrictions?
Yeah,
right,
no, you could use it for both.
right, okay. All right, anyone else have questions on this budget? All right, thank you so much. We appreciate that. All right, moving on to other. Does anyone else have anything? Yes.
I think we would all agree as a board that we want to make sure that any information that comes out on social media that trustees would put out there is correct information. And I was made aware of a response that was made in that a comment was made in response to a discussion that the village board had about flags. And the information that was put out was incorrect. And what the information was is that the library didn't really have a problem when it was decided 3 years ago to fly the pride flag. And that is incorrect information because we did. There were complaints. I received complaints and Mike received complaints, his staff received complaints. So I really think as a board, it's one thing when the public goes out and has wrong information, but it's another when a library board does. I think it's very important that it needs to be correct. And I would like to encourage or recommend that anytime any of us want to post on social media about the library in response, perhaps, that it goes through Mike. Mike knows the most of the operations of this library, the executive director. And we may think we know a lot, and hopefully we do, but it's, I don't like to see incorrect information going out to the public because there could be someone out there that knows it is incorrect information and it doesn't bode well for our board.
Okay. Okay, a couple of things that I wrote down for others. I, as well as Greg, attended the volunteer lunch, which was fabulous. It was right before Greg's letter of resignation went into effect. And there were so many volunteers. There was a magic show. I actually recognized Greg for his volunteer service, even though we're not counted as volunteers and hours or whatever. But anyway, it was really, really well done. So kudos to the staff that put that together. The art show for District 25, I attended that as well. And Sarah was there. I don't know if anyone else got a chance to walk through, but the families are so excited. So many grandparents proud to show off their work. And the schools and the school art teachers were all there. So that was fabulous. I attended the mental health fair that was in the Hendrickson room, which was very, super insightful. They had the village social worker who has office hours. He was the moderator and he did a great job. I spoke with him after. He's super appreciative of that opportunity. He gets a lot of one-on-one time with clients, and he said more than at the village hall, so he was very complimentary. I know there's a volunteer fair this weekend at Pioneer Park, which is one of the big, events that we help host. And, I was approached, as Greg always was, by the, committee that's putting on the, Memorial Day Parade. I believe Barbara and I will be passing out, the signs for, to wave for the veterans when they walk by. And you're broadcasting it live,
Yes,
correct?
yeah, we'll be
Yep.
streaming it again this year.
Yeah, so if anyone else can come, or just if you're there, they encourage us to waive the flyers that we'll be handing out for the veterans. And I believe they found a couple veterans that they were not aware of before from the Civil War from Arlington Heights. So that's terrific.
I have a couple other things.
Yeah.
actually. Just speaking to the Memorial Day Parade, I want you all to know that we sponsor the program that gets handed out at the event after, immediately following the parade. So we sponsor that every year through our Friends of the Library Sense of Community grant. So we pay for and print that. And then also unfortunate news that Teresa, one of our executive assistants, is leaving us. She's going to the village. So her last day will be next week. Yeah, next week, Wednesday. So best of luck to Teresa, but she will no longer be at our meetings.
All right. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Barb and Donna.